Hi, my name is David Schulman, and welcome to Meet the Leaders. I got to speak with Borough Administrator Fred Tomkins about what his experience is like as Borough Administrator. My first question for you is, what are the responsibilities of the Borough Administrator?
Well, the Borough Administrator, if you compared it to the corporate world, is like the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. The mayor is the CEO, and the council are the board of directors. So they make the policy and they decide which direction they want to go in, and the administrator's job is to assist them in implementing the things they want to do and actually orchestrate carrying them out.
So you're executing the ordinances and policies passed by the council and the mayor. Is that right?
Correct. Not specifically. Obviously, some things are carried out by the police and some things are carried out by the health officers or the construction code official. But, ultimately, as the COO, people report to you, but you're not involved in necessarily the nuts and bolts of everything. You just kind of have to oversee what they do.
Yeah.
And make sure that they're getting the stuff done in a timely manner.
So, as Borough Administrator, what are your priorities of right now, or just in general?
Well, besides being the administrator, I'm also the chief financial officer. So I'm wearing two hats at the same time, and that came about because of the administrator, this clerk that retired, Eleanor McGovern retired in December 31st of last year, and the council made a decision that they wanted to split the functions of the clerk and the administrator, but they weren't really sure exactly what they were going to do. So they went out to recruit a clerk, which we've hired Kathleen Holmes as the clerk, who started in March. And as the administrator, they asked me if I would function as the administrator in addition to being the CFO for some period of time while they sorted out exactly what they wanted to do. I have experience as an administrator. I've been an administrator elsewhere, and I've been around a long time, and I worked for the borough for the last 17 years, so I have a pretty good idea of what needed to be done and how to do it. And I have a good working relationship with the council and the mayor, so that worked out. It's not something that necessarily I would be here long term, but in the short term, it was a way of giving them an opportunity to sort out exactly which direction they wanted to go with things, if you follow me.
So your role as the CFO of Fanwood is like the treasury almost. Is that right?
Yes, exactly right. And then the treasurer, the chief financial officer, I oversee the budget and where the money comes in and goes out. Exactly.
So my next question is about one question, but separated into two. It's difficulties with the position and also the reward, what's rewarding of the position. So I'm going to start off with, what do you think is the challenges of being either CFO or being the borough administrator?
Contrary to what most people would think, I think more of the challenges has to do with managing people, managing the interpersonal relationships among people. Because you really have to get to know who the teams of people that work with you and for you, and find their strengths and weaknesses, and compensate for the weaknesses and use the strengths. And you're a morale builder. You're somebody that has to keep everybody moving in the right direction and keep their morale up, even though things may get difficult at times. And I think that's probably the most important part of what you do. The technical parts of what you do, my assumption is that when you get to the position that I'm in, or that somebody else is in this position, you should already know the technical parts. This is not a learning job. This is a job with people with experience that already know the technical part of it, but need to manage the people well, and using their technical experience and their ability to get things done by getting other people to work with you. It's really more interpersonal stuff, I think, than anything else. And the finance side of it is a little different, only because you have to really understand New Jersey is a very complicated state in terms of management of its budget and finances. And you really have to have the technical knowledge of how to manipulate your way through, if manipulate's the wrong word, how to work your way through the system to make sure you get to the end result of what you want and still manage to comply with all the rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And, that comes with experience. I worked as an auditor, and I'm an RMA, a registered municipal accountant, besides being a CPA. And I did a lot of auditing work before I became a CFO and administrator, so I have a knowledge of the technical side of it fairly well. But it's the being able to work with people, I think, is more of the skill that you really need.
Mm-hmm. So on the flip side of that, what do you think is the most rewarding part of being either borough administrator or being CFO of Fanwood?
I think the rewarding part of it falls into the same categories I just went through. It's more being able to get things done, seeing things implemented that you're trying to get done, and knowing that you're contributing in some way to a community and making it a better place and solving problems. You really have to be somebody that enjoys solving problems, which I do, because that's what you're usually confronted with. Nobody comes to you with a solution. They always come to you with the problem, and they look to you for solutions. And you really have to learn how to take all the ingredients of things and go back through your memories and your experience and figure out how do you solve a problem as opposed to just kicking it around a little bit. And I think I'm fairly good at that, solving problems. Not just financial problems, but problems in general. It's one of those, it's a skill that you get after experience.
So those are all the questions I had prepared for this interview, but is there anything you would like to say to the people listening to this episode?
Only that I think the Borough of Fanwood is a very nice community. It has a lot of good things to offer, and it has very good people that all try to work together and make things better. And I think the governing body, whether they're, regardless of political parties, I've been here for 17 years, and there have been different political parties in office as gone to council. And I think all the problems in government come back to the solutions that come from putting the partisan issues aside and working together, and there's a loss of that. But in smaller communities like this, it's not lost. People work together, and people are trying hard to make things happen. So I think that would be my comment.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. I look forward to seeing the great things that you do in Fanwood in the future. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Meet the Leaders, and expect new episodes very soon, exclusively on Tap Into SPF.